Hey guys, welcome back to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're going to be talking about a Ziggs updated complete guide. So of course, as usual with these guides, don't forget to check out the Ziggs basic guide that I will put up in the cards above for his skills, living order tips and tricks, as well as a couple of combos. But with that said, let's now jump into our loadout. So honestly, pretty much nothing has actually changed with Ziggs' build. It's pretty much 100% identical. I'm playing Ziggs ADC in this game, and I'll explain more about that one in the gameplay, but of course you can play mid, which is his main role. But basically his build has not changed whatsoever from my last video. It's just that I kind of wanted to make a guide on Ziggs because I haven't done so in many months. So just wanted to put a guide out there. So his build is relatively straightforward. So first up, you have obviously mana boots for your AP as well as your magic pen. Also the mana regeneration is very helpful. Luden's Echo for your first item, of course, gives you not just the damage passive, but also all of the good stats you want. Ability haste, you get mana, you get AP, of course you get a little bit of magic penetration. And then we go for Horizon Focus as a second item. Again, more AP, more ability haste, more magic penetration, and you get your Hyper Shot passive, which is of course going to reveal people who are far away and also increase your damage dealt to them by 9%. So next up we have Death Cap. Now Death Cap generally is good at the third item slot, gives you a huge injection of AP as well as increases all of your existing AP. And then at this spot we have the Infinity Orb, which of course it gives you again more AP, more magic penetration. Gives you some flat magic penetration as well. So for the people who did not build magic resist, this is going to hurt. And finally, of course, it gives you a crit against people who are below 35% health. Of course, it's not as OP as the Ruined one, but 35% health is still pretty solid, so you should still be pretty good with this. Now, the last item is very flexible. As a default, I put Liandry's because at this point you have a lot of AP, so Liandry's burn should hurt a lot. And of course, you're in a meta where tanks are relatively common, so Liandry's is going to help out quite a bit. And the other options you have are, of course, Crown for the safety, anti-heal on Morello's, or anti-shield on Oceanid's Trident. So for the runes, I like to go for Arcane Comet all the time. I think it's the most consistent rune, gives you a lot of poke throughout the game. Now I know that some people like to actually take First Strike, so the top two people are taking First Strike, the third guy is taking Arcane Comet, so it's between those two basically. I think Arcane Comet is better because it's just more consistent, but I can see why in the mid and late game First Strike, you can sort of one-shot people with a combo, so First Strike also works. Now, you guys might be wondering why we're going for this loadout. This isn't actually what we're going for. We're going for this. But you might be wondering why we're going for Inspiration instead of going for Domination as usual. So the main reason is, on the second and third tier, you can't really get anything. Like Mark of the Week, it sucks. You can't really proc Cheap Shot because your Q doesn't slow. And Empowered Attack, you don't want to go close to proc people. So basically the main thing you want from here is Scorch, right? And none of these are particularly helpful rune, so you want to have Scorch over here, and then you basically take the Inspiration tree because it's the best tree you can take. I mean, it doesn't make sense to take Precision or Resolve, so you're gonna have to take Inspiration. So you take the Sweet Tooth for the just a little bit of extra gold and healing from the Honey Fruit. The main one you like is actually Transcendence, which gives you more ability haste when you hit your abilities, and also Nimbus Cloak for the additional movement speed when you cast your summoner spells. And for said summoner spells, I like to take Flash as well as Exhaust. Now, you don't necessarily have to take Exhaust. You can take Heal, you can take Ignite, you can take Barrier. But I'm an ADC who always takes Exhaust, so I like taking Exhaust personally. But there we have it. Now let's move on to talking about the gameplay. Alright, so now let us take a look at the gameplay itself. Of course, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as usual. Any questions, queries, remarks, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I'll of course be sure to address them. So, the first thing we really need to cover before we really talk about the gameplay is, like, why would you pick Ziggs bot lane and when should you do it? Well, basically, Ziggs obviously is an AP mage. Obviously you only want to pick him when your team, kind of needs AP. Now, you could argue that in this game, we already have a Zyra, who is a really decent AP source, which is going to lead to my second point, but you could pick AP Varus, AP Kai'Sa, all these kind of AP champions, Corki, etc. And yes, you could and you probably should, but I'm just laying it out there that Ziggs is an option. I have put a decent amount of time into learning and playing Ziggs all the way back from honestly a couple of years ago. Back when, if you guys remember, there was a time when mages are played a little bit in the bot lane. Like there was like a time where people actually played Ziggs, Orianna, and mages in the bot lane when ADCs were really weak because people are copying pro play. But that was a couple years ago, so probably most people don't remember. So, now when is the main time you want to pick Ziggs over these champions? Well, in my opinion, there's really one big main time, which is when your team has a lot of CC. Because Ziggs honestly does a lot of pure AP damage, whereas of course like champions like Kai'Sa and Varus, they do mixed AP damage, but Ziggs does like pure AP damage. And the main problem with Ziggs is you can see that bouncing bomb, it's not really the easiest ability to hit. It's not that hard to hit either, so it's like okay, like you can land it like more than half the time most likely, but not 100% of the time most likely, unless you're a god and can't miss a skill shot. But basically, if you have CC on your team to lock someone down, you can, manage to land your bombs and your ulti as well, because your ulti, of course, after the Ziggs rework, your ulti does, of course, come out in a huge area where the whole area does an equal amount of damage. Whereas of course, the old one didn't, and it's really easy to walk out of this area. So the main reason for the CC is that you want to keep people in the area and make them take the ult damage. So in this match, you can see we have Renekton, who has a point and click stun on one person. We have Vi, who has her Q dash and point and click knock-up on her ulti. We have Zyra, of course, with a huge AoE knock-up as well as a root. We have Seraphine, again with a huge AoE charm and a huge AoE root. Like literally all my teammates have CC, and I was thinking that, even though my team already has AP in the form of Zyra and maybe even Seraphine, I'm thinking that Ziggs is so insane in this match. I'm going to land so much free damage, and you guys will see later on how many free ults I get and how many like free bomb throws I get, but you guys will see. So here Vi is coming in for a ganks onto the Sivir, ults onto the Janna who's 1 HP. I get the kill onto her. Good target selection by the Vi, first CCing the Sivir to prevent her from outputting damage, and then ulting the Janna who is a low HP target. Sivir now takes a bunch of damage from Seraphine. Vex ult comes in. I'm spamming my exhaust here. I exhaust her. Flash away. She gets ulted in. I land my bomb again. I barely get the fruit and survive. And my Seraphine picks up the kill onto the Vex. So this is one of the main reasons why I picked up the exhaust, is kind of because of this reason. Now, of course, Ziggs, like basically all the ADCs and a lot of the immobile mages, doesn't like to play into champions that can dive the backline. In the enemy team, the main culprits are actually Yone and the Vex. So there is a decent amount of danger, which is the main reason why I took exhaust. It's mainly for Yone and Vex. I'm not planning to walk up to exhaust Sivir or Kindred for that matter. But it's mainly, of course, for the Vex and the Yone when they engage on us like that. And that's pretty much how I use my exhaust for the entire rest of the match. Like when they get anywhere near me, I'm exhausting them and I'm making sure that they can't kill me. So one of the additional benefits of Ziggs compared to something like a Varus or a Kai'Sa is Ziggs has a lot of extra safety. Like with Kai'Sa, you generally are going to want to ult in at some point. With Varus, yes, you do have your long range arrow, but if you're playing him AP, you probably want to get up to auto attack to stack up your blight, so you are not exactly a very safe range. Corki has really low range as well because of his Gatling gun. And Ziggs, out of all these champions, has the best range, so you can stand far, far away and just toss your bombs. Like, you can stay out of danger, and, you can just be safe. So that's another one of the reasons why Ziggs is a very good pick. Overall, I'm not really advocating for you to pick Ziggs over these champions. I'm just pointing out why he could be a better pick at some point in time. Obviously, he's also a worse pick in some ways. For example, he does a lot of burst damage, but he doesn't do a lot of DPS compared to someone like Kai'Sa or Varus, who can do constant DPS. Now here we're catching them as they come back to just land a little bit of free poke. It's always good, always important to just land some free poke onto them here. The Seraphine hits her ult, and I'm going to land my ult onto the Sivir as well. Unfortunately, at this point, we are a mage and we are at 0 items so far other than boots. So that basically means that we're not going to do a lot of damage. Now, I didn't know the Hextech toolkit could despawn as you're trying to channel it, but apparently it can. So if you're standing there for a little while, apparently if the timer expires, it's just going to despawn anyway, even though you're already standing on it, which is unlike other things like the Dragon or the Herald mechanic, where, it doesn't actually despawn. But anyways, here, Kindred, for some reason, hops in to try to steal, gets ulted by Vi, pops her own ult, so I can't quite finish her off. I eventually get over and around, and I'm trying to back them up. And here again, the Vex ults me. I'm again going to exhaust her, flash over the wall to keep myself safe, and continue running. Bomb the Vex away with my Satchel Charge, and go back to the wave and try to pick up some farm. Now we are really low on health and mana, we really want to reset, but we kind of want to push in this wave as well. It could be frozen outside the tower, which will make it very awkward, so instead what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick up the fruits and ensure that I have enough health and mana and that I don't die, and then I clear the wave and then I reset. So now we have the Ludens completed. Now I'm 2-0-3, pretty strong start to the game, pretty good amount of gold as well. With my gold lead, I'm of course going to start getting my items, and of course Ludens is a really huge power spike because you're going to start increasing your damage in terms of your Q especially. But of course, as with most mages and ADCs, every item you get is going to be a pretty decent spike. So of course when we get Horizon Focus, when we get Death Cap, etc, etc, it's all going to be pretty huge spikes for us. So that's kind of the main goal of the game here, obviously to get our items and to start dealing the insane amounts of damage. I would say you really need to hit Death Cap like on your third item for Ziggs to really hurt. Like 1 Q does more than half the HP, kind of situation, which of course you will reach that stage eventually. But for now, we're just happy to farm. Yeah. And another huge strength of Ziggs, I'm just trying to sell you guys on Ziggs here. The huge strength of Ziggs is his super strong wave clear. Yeah, so here Silver gets caught on the tower, Seraphine lands all the CC, which allows me to land a free R into a free Q, which then of course allows me to pick up the relatively free kill on the Silver under tower. So another huge strength of Ziggs is his strong wave clear. Now, people always say you can't end the game if Ziggs is alive, and that's really true to a large extent. You can't just ult the wave, you can just throw your Q onto the wave and you clear the wave pretty much instantly, so it's really hard to end the game against a Ziggs who's standing behind his Nexus, tossing bombs at your wave, unless you have Baron, of course, that's a different story. But against normal minions, it's pretty much impossible to end the game against Ziggs. So that's another huge strength. Like a lot of games that you play Ziggs, you will save the game just based on the fact you're a Ziggs and you're alive, compared to other champions that cannot really clear the wave as well. So here we're back to the lane, back to poking. Of course, poking is really important to, stack up your Arcane Comet and to deliver the poke from the Arcane Comet as well. Now here, even though we are building a Horizon Focus next item into a Death Cap, I've actually decided to go for the Prophet's Pendant second item, which will eventually build into my Oblivion Orb, because flat magic penetration from the Prophet's Pendant is actually really huge in the early game, because at the early game, people barely have any magic resist, so having any flat magic pen is going to hurt a lot. So I decided to go for that early game, mid-tier item just for a little bit of a damage spike earlier on. The Hextech turret is now here. I land a huge ult onto 3. Seraphine ult hits as well, and now I'm just in the backline just tossing bombs. Basically, unfortunately my team doesn't really finish anybody off, and neither can I. We're gonna get rid of that Gorilla turret, and yeah, back to the fight here. We're tossing bombs. Kindred is going onto us. I exhaust her. I'm gonna have to flash away here, and yeah, obviously the kind of weakness of Ziggs is when you get caught out, you can't really fight back like an ADC. Like if you get caught out, of course, unless you're Giga Fed and you just toss all your spells directly onto them and you kill them. If not, when you get caught, because of the fact you are meant to be like really far away in the backline, it's of course balanced by the fact that when you actually get caught, you're going to take a bunch of damage, and that's not going to go very well for you. So here you can see Seraphine gets the catch onto Janna, I land the follow-up, and Vi picks up the kill. And yeah, it's all going swimmingly. My team is 11-3. Although we have like an 8 kill lead, we only have like a 2 plus 3 plus K gold like lead, which is pretty small considering how many extra kills we have, which kind of just shows the enemy team has been farming pretty well. In particular, the Yone, who has more gold than me, he's taken the tower against the Renekton. Renekton isn't even doing very bad. He's 1-0-1, and Yone is 1-3. But this really shows you how tower plates and minions make all the difference. So here we're just wave clearing. Getting more gold to build towards Horizon Focus. We spot an Ocean Drake. Vi is on the way, so we're going to start up the Ocean Drake. Just putting the ward over to check for vision. Kindred getting caught, has to hop away. Whole enemy team is here to contest. I land a huge 3-man out again, following up from Vi CC. Barely not missing, but dodging the Vex ulti here. And now we're just doing our job of landing poke. Now Silver is coming onto us, and we have to Satchel charge ourselves away, because as I said, whenever you get caught, there's basically nothing much you can do. We're not gonna be able to compete with Sivir's damage in a like auto attack or DPS battle. So I'm gonna have to run for the hills here. And the dragon's still untaken. Vi has died, unfortunately, so it's kind of a little bit awkward for my team. We can't really do dragons. I'm just trying to land poke. Pretty much do my job of just poking. I'm getting restoring my health and mana using the fruit, but I probably should have given Seraphine some or all of it actually. So here, enemy team is doing the dragons. I'm again just landing my poke. We may not be able to steal the dragon or get the dragon, but I can still stack up my arcane comet. I can still do damage to the enemy team and force them to recall instead of staying for minions or whatnot. So of course, always landing poke is a good idea. Getting a ward off onto the tri-bush just to check. And removing the control ward there. So here obviously with Ziggs you can take down the tower with your satchel. But in this case it wasn't even needed. I placed it down but it wasn't actually needed. We could just kill it with our normal spells and auto attacks. Generally you're quite safe when you're for summoner spells. You can see here we have both our flash and exhaust. And generally it's really hard to catch Ziggs out if he has both of them, because he can exhaust and flash away. He can also use the satchel charge to put distance between himself and you. And yeah, here we get a blue buff, which is huge. Of course, blue buff is really great on mages. Kindred's trying to chase in. I'm barely dodging the Vex out again. We know that Vex is around. We can see her in mid lane. She could rotate possibly. Kindred has to pop the ult to survive and does get out with a sliver of HP. And is now going to the bot side apparently. So here we're just going to continue clearing wave in the middle lane this time. Of course our mid laner is dead, so obviously she's not going to be able to get the wave. We're going to grab it for her. And we can now reset and complete our Horizon Focus. So we do get that. Obviously Horizon Focus, the extra 9% damage is going to be a pretty big deal. And now the top wave has pushed in, so we're going to go up to top and wave her. Now, I will say that being such a good wave clearer, there are matches I've played on Ziggs where basically all I have done is clear wave the entire game. I have games where my team is so behind, I'm getting pushed in on every lane, I'm permanently standing near the base and just clearing wave the whole game. So that does happen from time to time because that does play to your strength, and you do accumulate more gold to get more items as well, so not exactly a bad thing. Vi goes in here, I land the ulti onto the stack here, Yone goes in on me, as you can see I exhaust him, I hop over the wall, I'm in danger again, I have to flash the wall this time. Nimbus Cloak proccing for a lot of extra movement speed. Seraphine hits a pretty nice ult, kills the Kindred, and now the enemy team is chasing in. I'm laying down cover fire with my bombs and basically hitting whoever I can. Putting my mines over the fruit to ensure the enemy team can get it. Now my team is starting to chase in, so I'm starting to follow as well. Just joining my team. Landing even more damage onto the Janna. We're all just poking each other out. Yone is missing, but he is pretty low, but he does do a lot of damage, so I'm being very cautious here. I'm thinking Yone might be in his red buff bush, so I'm actually checking with my bomb. He's not in there, so we're all good. And here we now go to the bot lane. Pick up all the farm there. Of course, sometimes you can't get the last hits because you're a mage. And you can't do a lot of damage from your auto attack. So if you don't have spells up, really hard to get them last hits. So we missed a couple last hits there. But as you can see, my whole team is doing really, really well. And so am I. Like, you guys think I'm not doing a lot of damage, and you are not exactly wrong, but the damage from the poke accumulates over time. Here, Vex tries to go in, but gets baited in by Seraphine Stasis. Vi gets the kill on her, gets the shutdown. Janna now in no man's land, gets run down, dies. I'm running into a bunch of tornadoes. Sivir now getting run down. So is Kindred, who just joined the party. Sivir dies. Kindred's now getting chased. Kindred gets ulted. Kindred dies. Whole enemy team dies one by one by one by one. And only Yone is left alive. We can see him on the opposite side of the map, pushing. But at this point, he realizes that he can't do that no more. And we are going to go ahead and try to grab the Baron. Now, one of the weaknesses of Ziggs you can see here is the fact that Ziggs does Baron very slow. He does not do a lot of DPS because he is a mage. So yes, you have a low Q cooldown, but you're going to do Baron really slow compared to a normal ADC. So we do take a little bit of time, but of course 4 enemies dead. Pretty much no way we don't get the Baron unless Yone comes up with some insane steal. Renekton picks up the Baron, and now the last dragon is going to be spawning. Obviously this is soul for neither team, so it's not really that important, all things considered. T-Hex going to the jungle for some reason. I'm not sure what he's doing. But yeah, here I'm trying to get the blue buff. The Zyra's trying to get the blue buff as well, but I'm going to grab it for myself. Of course, both mages really like blue buff, so Yeah. So here TX is now in the mid lane. I'm just standing behind him, just tossing pot shots with my bombs at people. Yone goes in for a flank, but doesn't actually go for me. Goes for the Seraphine apparently, because he can't be going for the TX. I land a huge ult again, but again, it doesn't look like I'm doing a lot of damage, but I really am. So here now I'm gonna have to run because my team is slowly dying. I'm just landing, you know, whatever kind of damage I can. Kindred is diving into the pit to get the dragon. She does get it, but dies for it eventually. I land a Q onto the Vex. Vex is now 1 HP. I'm trying to catch her out if I can. Vi's on the chase. I'm throwing my bombs at the Sivir now. Sivir dies instead, and Vex does escape, but Sivir paid for it with her life. So I'd say that's an okay deal. And now we're going to go for this mid lane tower if we can. Of course, now you can throw spells, you know, to proc onto the tower. Actually, you know what, guys? I'm not sure if I did an updated basic guide on the rework Ziggs. I probably didn't, so maybe I'm gonna have to make a video on a updated Ziggs basic guide. And if I do, I'm gonna put the new one and link it up in the cards at the start of the video. You know, when I mentioned to look at Ziggs basic guide, I probably need to do that one because I don't actually believe I did a updated Ziggs basic guide, because the only thing I updated is Misfortune. So probably gonna get around to doing that, and I will of course release it you know, before this video probably. So by the time you're seeing this, you definitely would have seen that one if you subscribe to the channel and if you know, look at my videos. But yeah. So Elder is coming up in 30 seconds, and we're basically just trying to hunt for enemies at this point. Kindred's 1 HP. Here you can see the huge ult by me onto the Vex is you know, how it really works, because obviously, you know, we have the CC from Vi, and like every time Vi ults, I'm ulting as well to land the guaranteed ulti on the target that Vi has selected. We're basically killing the entire enemy team at this point. Only Janna's left alive. She's not gonna survive though. Vi picks up a triple kill, and at this point, we can probably try to push for the end. Here, for some reason, I'm backing. I'm not sure what I'm doing. I'm kind of trolling here. Why am I backing? I'm getting my death cap, I guess. So here, I'm pinging for Elder, which is a troll move, I think, because I believe we can end. I believe we can end without Elder. But anyways, the enemy team surrenders, so not as big of a troll after all. But yeah. So here we grab the victory. I'm gonna leave you guys with the stats as usual, and take note of how much damage I did here, guys. You guys think I did no damage, but I clearly did the most damage in the game. So I'm gonna leave you guys with the stats as usual, and goodbye.